Our achievements on paper can never express the full story of our lives. Career and academic success overshadow inner journeys that few will ever fully understand. Professor Jill Farrant is a pioneer in the field of plant molecular and cell biology, and the resurrection plant to be specific. Her work is world-renowned, but her personal story is even more remarkable.
I grew up on a farm surrounded by plants. Plants have always been such a core part of my life. Understanding how they work, making them productive. Plants make the world go round. You know that you and I are totally dependent on plants for all our food, most of our medicines. In the face of climate change, they are predicting more and more droughts. How are we going to feed our population? Most plants out there resist water loss. It's the default state. Nothing can live without water. Not you, not me, nothing. Hello, come in. Just find a seat somewhere near the back. There are some unusual plants called resurrection plants. We've discovered them maybe for the last 15, 20 years that actually dry down to 5% water. In other words, they can lose 95% of their water and not die. And they resurrect from this apparent dead-like state. My whole research is involved in how do they survive such extreme water loss? If I can understand that, how can I use that technology to make drought-tolerant crops? Welcome to my world.
Oh, this is cool. So what is this one, Jill?
It's actually grass, but it's called Erygrostis teff. And in Ethiopia, Eritrea particularly, I mean, you can imagine there's a drought problem there. They collect all these seeds, make bread out of them. So what I really want to do is to try and make this crop resistant using the genes that I have from its close relative. It's a resurrection grass called Erygrostis lindensis.
The thing here is that you can create food security for millions, if not billions, of people around the world if you can get it right. From the plant that was growing on your father's farm?
Yes.
That you used to see when you were a child?
When I was a kid.
Oh, you were so happy in that space, eh? No shoes, I imagine.
No. I grew up on a farm, very isolated farm. Mum was 40 when she fell pregnant with me. I was the Laatlamiki. Dad, tobacco farmer. I was a very lonely little girl, brother and sister, boarding school. And so nature, plants, animals, birds, all became a passion for me. They were my friends, I guess. Dad had a very, very high work ethic, and of course it was farming, and so I often just wanted to be with him. To get Dad's attention, I would notice absolutely everything that was important to him. It's not that Dad didn't pay me attention, it's just that I wanted to shine for Dad. Because he was quite a depressive man. He worked like a Trojan, and the only times we really had fun, Dad would come home 5, 6 o'clock. We'd have drinks. That was what Mum and Dad would do. That was the fun time. The next one I want to show you is the family.
Ah, that's Mom and you guys on the beach.
We used to always go down to Scottsboro Beach for holidays. But my mom's highlights were parties. They didn't happen very often on the farm. She wanted to be a socialite and she married a farmer.
Your mom was an alcoholic. How did it affect you?
At school, I was nervous to bring people home. So I very rarely brought friends home. The way it did affect me was I covered for her all the time. I became such a people pleaser to make the peace with everyone. Mom, Dad, brother, sister. I become what people want me to become.
Jilly's time with her mom was fraught. Very difficult because on the one hand, she would never understand or know the kind of response she would get from her mother. So she would do her best to constantly please, 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 which she's kept that pattern all the way through, to the point where you do subjugate your own individuality because you have a very real need to have a grown-up love you, no matter what.
Jill's father held academic achievement in high regard, and Jill pushed herself hard at school and at university to impress him. At the University of Cape Town, she began to drink.
The very first time I picked up a drink, I loved it, always loved it. Suddenly I was part of the big people's gang. In the early stages of university, it was always on a reward system. if I can get that first, then I can have a drink and a party. And all the way through, that's what drove me, master's, PhD, you know. I think the big first crumble came when Mom died.
How did your mum's death affect you?
I took a long time to finally deal with it because you've got to go through all the stages of grief. And I stuck myself in alcohol and I didn't get through. I went overseas and for the first time I was alone in my own home. I didn't know anyone. And I started to drink at home. And it went very, very, very quickly. 4 or 5 years later, I was getting to a point where I was hiding that I was drinking. I never wanted people to know. I was very ashamed. So, of course, you live on your own, don't you?
She's a highly functioning alcoholic. So it was quite phenomenal to me how she would compartmentalize and be able to achieve as much as she did when she was drinking. Remarkable, because the work was intense. Intense, a lot of pressure. A lot of PhD students, a lot of research, a lot of papers to write. And I honestly don't know how she did it.
I had a series of really bad rock bottoms. And just one has to be bad enough for you to say, enough. I realized my drinking had really got out of control at a function that was given in the honor of a number of us who'd won what is called the President's Award. I had a drink in my bedroom beforehand, arrived at the banquet, glass of champagne offered, and then the CEO came and asked me if I'd give the after dinner speech. And yes, no problem. To this day, I cannot remember what I said. And I woke up the next day and I thought, this is nuts. And I put myself into rehab.
So what was rehab like?
I hated it. I hated me. We had to get up in the morning and say, hello, my name is Jill, I'm an alcoholic, I'm not a bad person. And you stand there and you think, I am. I'm a cuck person. Break you down and they build you up. And by the time you leave, you think, okay, I can do this. The first time in my life I had to think, who's Jill Farrant? What does she want? I never knew.